We don't have a line yet for Georgia, Florida, and that's normally what we talk about on Mondays. So I wanted to talk to everybody about the updated betting odds, generally speaking, after Alabama's loss to Tennessee. So they definitely shifted. Georgia and Alabama came into the weekend slightly trailing Ohio State. Ohio State's sitting at about, if you average it out, about 170 plus 175, and Georgia and Alabama were both at about two plus 200. Um, Obviously, Ohio State and Clemson do not play one another. Ohio State and Michigan do. So where Michigan is somewhere around plus 1600, so they are significantly lower candidate to win the national championship. Ohio State's sitting around 175. Alabama, their odds went backwards double. They went from about 200 to plus 450, so more than double. They became more of a long shot. Clemson's still hanging out at about 1,000. So bettors are saying, hey, Alabama is two times more likely, actually a little bit more, than Clemson to win the national championship. And then then Tennessee is plus 2,000, so even higher than Clemson and Michigan. Everybody after that either has a loss or they're so I don't know about disjoint. It's just a long way down. I think your top three are still the top three that we've had the whole time. It's moved around a little bit. It's going to take Ohio State not playing well in order to dislodge them from the betting favorite because they do not have Georgia or Alabama in their league, and I can assure you that that is the biggest impediment. If Georgia were in the ACC, I would imagine they would be better odds than Ohio State to win the national championship. Um, and I think that makes a big difference. Now, if Clemson were in the ACC, excuse me, were in the SEC or the Big Ten, their odds would be lower. I don't know how much lower. Their odds would be lower, simply for the fact that their championship game. They may as well the Syracuse game this week may as well be essentially Clemson's road in to the playoff because there's just nobody. There's no threat on the other side, and besides games out of conference with Notre Dame and South Carolina, there's just nothing in their way. The championship is going to be against a team that might not be ranked. So this is what we do. We do it all the time. But I did find it curious that the Alabama's become more of a long shot than double and a little bit of where Georgia's at, and that's not insignificant. Make sure for a limited time right now, our listeners can get 50% off of up to $20 value with $0 in delivery fees when you download the DoorDash app and enter the code DAWG DAWG 50% off of $20 of up to a $20 value, no delivery fee when you download the DoorDash app in the App Store and enter the code DAWG. Now it's right down below. Take advantage of this tonight because if you're like me, you do not want to have to sit there and go make dinner, particularly when you just get into a pinch. So that's what I'm talking about. It's not for everybody necessarily. Everyone should download the app. Just saying, when you've got 300,000 partners in the United States that you can order from, Popeyes, Cheesecake Factory, Chipotle, whoever, just take advantage of this. Do not forget the code is DAWG for up to 50% off of up to a $20 value and zero delivery fees with DoorDash, subject to change and terms apply. My math right there is that you're getting $10. You can pay $10 for a $20 meal. That ain't bad. What also is not bad. First of all, I still think Ohio State, Georgia, or Alabama are the most likely to win the national championship. I think Ohio State and Georgia are the most likely. And listen, y'all. When we came into the season, um, I know it was my opinion that it was either Ohio State or Alabama that would be one of the two teams that would, have this moment. They were the most likely to have the moment. But, we're 7 weeks into this thing. It is the natural midpoint of the year. A season ago, Georgia played, I can barely remember, Kentucky 2 weeks before they played the Gators. And that page flip right there, that is the natural break to Georgia's season. This is the midway point. It's a little bit further than the midway point, but you get my point. Now that we're at this point, I think we do need to kind of take a look at where we're really at. Ohio State. So Georgia, I think everybody watching this, make sure you can pick up DAWGSTRUCTION 20 or 80-page commemorative edition book. Take advantage of it. It's a great offer right now. The link is down below. You also get a T-shirt if you email me, but you need to email me and make sure you send your size. When you look at where we're really at, I'm going to look at the top 5 teams here because we that's really after that. It's kind of hard to believe that, like for instance, Oklahoma State's going to come out of nowhere and then win the national championship. Okay, we'll see, but I am skeptical that that will happen. All right. So you look at, like, for instance, Georgia. They have coming up a week off. Then they're going to play the Gators. They will be a heavy favorite there. Tennessee, they will be a pretty, not insignificant favorite there. At Mississippi State, that will probably be a double digit. They'll be a favorite there. At Kentucky, Georgia will probably be a double digit favorite. We don't know yet. Kentucky's got a couple games that they can kind of adjust some things, but they'll probably be a double digit favorite there. And they'll probably be a 30-point favorite in Atlanta. In Athens against the Jackets. For everybody else, and my computer is not working as fast as you would like it to. Clemson is in a position right now where, as I said, there's just not a lot in their way. I mean, they've got Syracuse this week at noon. They have a week off, and then they go to Notre Dame. Um, I, Notre Dame's just not great. They're not bad, but Clemson just should not lose the rest of the season. They got Syracuse, Notre Dame, Louisville, Miami. I mean, Miami and Louisville are bad. And then they host South Carolina, and I will believe South Carolina beating Clemson when I see it. I think Carolina has had their one big game win, and that was at Kentucky. I know that sounds strange, but and then you look at Ohio State. Ohio State is definitely the team that has the weakest schedule so far. I mean, the win in week 1 against Notre Dame, that was a good win. But Notre Dame is not at all what we expected them to be. I mean, I believe they started the season ranked number, in the top 10, and they're just. I mean, they lost to Marshall. They squeezed one out against Cal. They had to hold on against BYU. They just lost to Stanford. They're not good. I mean, they're 3-3. They're just not good right now, and I don't see them hanging out with Clemson or SC. But we'll see how that goes. So Ohio State, Iowa cannot score. So I don't care how bad Ohio State's defense is, which is a misnomer, by the way. It's not bad at all. I don't care how, quote, bad they are. They're scoring a lot of points, and Iowa cannot score. So that's a problem. I mean, all that matters, there are 3 teams right now in college football that have that are allowing 10 points a game or fewer. Illinois, Georgia, and Iowa. And I think it's awesome that Iowa allows 10 points a game, basically. Ohio State's only allowing 16. I'm gonna fill you in on a secret here. Ohio State is scoring 48. So that is like a 5-touchdown margin that Iowa is not going to be able to keep up with. All right. Penn State, as strange as Penn State, Ohio State is, I don't buy it. I think Ohio State will throttle Penn State. Penn State's always, for a long time now, particularly under James Franklin, they're just a mirage. It sounds good. It seems good. They talk a lot of stuff, and then they get their ass whipped. So I don't think that's going to be any different. The difference there with Penn State and they're not playing in a super strong league. I mean, they're not playing in the SEC. So Ohio State goes to Northwestern. Indiana's not good. Maryland maybe could play around with Ohio State. I don't think so. That game's on the road. And then, of course, the big game with Michigan and Ohio State. And then they'll have to play the Big Ten championship game. Same thing with Michigan. This is to me, Michigan looks good. Their only real sort of hiccup this season, if you want to call it that, was a 7-point win over Maryland at home. Other than that, they've not been a great schedule. 51-7 of Colorado State, Hawaii, Connecticut, Maryland, Iowa on the road, Indiana on the road, and then just the beating they put on Penn State. We will see with Michigan where they're at when they're dealing with Illinois and Ohio State back to back. Illinois is not good, but that's okay. They're adequate and they don't let people score. So when you look at all of that and you say, oh well, Georgia and Tennessee play one another. Well, yeah, and that's the real challenge here. Is it's really hard to compare. If Georgia gets past Tennessee, they will either play Alabama in the SEC championship game or Mississippi, who may be undefeated, although we'll see about that, right? So all of these teams, why the betting public, why the casinos have Georgia so high is a combination of who they've got left standing to play, as well as how good they are. No one really views Georgia as likely to lose any of the games they've got left to play, probably including the SEC championship game. But it's hard to really compare Georgia's schedule with what Clemson's got. I mean, Clemson doesn't have a legitimate foe really left on their schedule even right now. I mean, after they got out of the Wake Forest NC State back to back, there's just not anyone there. I mean, it would be like Georgia playing Auburn over and over again. It's not super challenging. You could lose, but it's not likely. Ohio State and Michigan, that's really about the last game of the season, and then whoever the Big Ten West can roll out of a grave to play them in the championship game. But those teams, they're not in the same universe as Michigan and Ohio State. And of course, the Dogs and Tennessee are both in position to where, if they win, the winner of that game is almost certainly going to the playoff. I think that's the one thing about Georgia, Tennessee. If they both arrive undefeated, they will almost certainly get to the playoff. I mean, Georgia's got to go to state, but they should routine state. I mean, after what I saw in Commonwealth this past week, Kentucky, both Georgia and Tennessee got to worry a little bit about Kentucky. Kentucky comes to Neyland. Georgia goes to Commonwealth. So that's like Maryland for Ohio State. These are games they should win, but you got to go win them. You got to go win them. Hey, take advantage of DoorDash. The link is down below. Thanks for watching.